In our next lesson about simple machines, I would have given you this task. What the task is there's several heavy books in front of us, and I want to ask how far could you lift them up using just the force of your index finger. Now, if you just use your finger alone, it's actually very hard to get the textbooks up. Not because you're not necessarily strong enough, but as you can see, it's hard for my finger to get under the textbook so that I can lift it up. That means, of course, we need a simple machine. Now, the materials that I would have given you are an eraser and a pencil. What you can do is pause this video to think about what simple machine could you make just using the eraser and pencil to help you with the task of lifting the textbooks with just the force of your index finger. So here's the answer. Over the years, I've seen many different strategies, trying to poke the inside of the book, asking me if they can snap the pencil, jamming the pencil underneath and wiggling it about, trying to push it with the eraser. Or maybe what you might have known to do is to put down the eraser foot first, lean the pencil on it, and stick the sharp side underneath the book as far as you can. And then, using your index finger, pushing the other end to lift one side up. So, what this is this is a simple machine. And this simple machine is called a lever. So again, looking at this part, we have the pencil and the eraser making a lever. So what we will be talking about next are what are the parts of a lever and what are the 3 different types of levers. This document will be on your Google Classroom, so please record the notes along with this video and practice doing the drawings that will be done later, because it will be very important when you study for your test and when we get an assignment where you have to classify different types of levers. So before we even get into that though, again, what is a lever? So if we look at the definition, a lever is an arm that rests on a pivot point called a fulcrum. Our lever at the beginning of this video, it was the pencil. That was the arm, the long piece. And it rested on then the eraser, which was the fulcrum. It pivoted or moved around that eraser. Furthermore, force or effort is applied in one place of the lever to move a load at another point. So force or effort, that was my index finger pushing on the pencil. And that moved the load, which was the textbooks. It moved the textbooks up. So what happens is when we're learning about levers, we are going to be drawing the different lever parts. And there's 3 parts to a lever. So these arrows are showing the force. Okay? There's 2 arrows because the force could go up or down depending on the lever. Another part of the lever is the load, which is represented by drawing a square. Okay? And the last part is the fulcrum, which is represented by drawing a triangle. So when you're drawing levers, you have to draw the 3 parts. Either an arrow going up or down to show the force, a square to show where the load is, and a triangle to show where the fulcrum is, where the lever is balancing or moving around. Now there are 3 classes of levers. What I'm going to do is I'll show you how to draw each of them and give an example. Please practice drawing them because again, on the test and in future assignments, you will have to know how to draw them. There are 3 types of levers and they're called by classes. So first we're going to cover the class 1 lever, which is the classic one that you probably even knew before the science class. So it's the seesaw lever. I'll draw a line to represent the arm of the lever. And then like a seesaw, in the center is the fulcrum, which balances it. And then on one side is the load. And then the other side is the force pushing down. So as the force is pushing down, the load or the weight is pushed up. Once you have taken your photo of your drawing, you can insert it. And an example of a class 1 lever is scissors. If we find a picture of simple scissors using our Google image search, good diagram, that one looks good. Okay, so the reason scissors are a class 1 lever, even though they might not look like a lever, is because if we talked about the load, it would be the paper that comes on this one side where it's being cut. Then the fulcrum is the place that the arms of the lever move around. So it moves around the screw in the center. And then the force is being applied to the handles. So again, it follows the order of the class 1 lever, load, then fulcrum, then force on the outside. Moving on to class 2, again, we'll start by drawing the arm of the lever as a long line first. Next, the fulcrum actually goes on one end of the lever, and then the load is in the middle. And this force will push up. That means the load will be lifted up with the force. So please pause the video and draw the class 2 lever. Now let's insert our photo of our drawing. So an example of a class 2 lever is actually a door. So let's insert a picture of a door to understand why it's a class 2 lever. So search the web for open door. So how the door works is that on one side, the fulcrum is on the edge here. So what is the fulcrum? What is the lever or the arm of the lever moving around? So a door moves around its hinges. And so the hinges are the screws and so on that are connecting it to the wall. Okay. The load is actually the door itself because you need to push that open and close, and it's a weight. Okay. And then the force is the doorknob or the other side where you're opening the door, so where you're pushing it. So again, the door is a class 2 lever because the fulcrum's on one side, the load is in the middle, and the force is at the other end. And after class 1 and 2, the last lever we will be looking at is class 3. So drawing the arm of the lever. And again, like class 2, the fulcrum is on one end of the lever. But the load is on the opposite end, meaning that this time the force is going up in the middle. So as the force goes up, it pushes the load up. Please pause to give yourself a chance to draw the class 3 lever and take a photo of it. So let's insert our last picture. Okay. So an example of a class 3 lever, this might be a little strange, but it is a baseball player swinging at bat. So let's look for an image of a baseball player. And then baseball player batting. Resizing it. So this might be very strange, but our bodies can actually act as a lever because all you need is remember those three parts. You need some kind of load, you need a fulcrum or a pivot point, and some kind of force. So in this case, the fulcrum, where the lever is moving around, is the person's body that's supporting it. So where his body is going to twist and move before swinging the bat is the fulcrum. The force pushing is his arms pushing the bat. Okay. So again, the body force is pushing the bat, and then if you can guess it, the load is the baseball that is being pitched towards the bat. Again, what that lever is doing is it's moving the load, trying to move the load of the baseball. So that's the 3 classes of levers. Make sure you try to remember each one and the order that the 3 parts go in, because it'll be very important to be able to classify each kind of lever. So remember 1, 2, and 3. So if you have any questions again about how these levers work, please send me an email or ask me on Google Hangouts. Bye.